Deloitte, one of the largest management consultancy firms, recently put out their 2022 Gen Z report, which brought up many key issues Gen Z are facing currently, whether it's financial crisis, stress and anxiety due to our economical climate, or the lack of funding and support given by larger organisations to help fight climate change and overall improve sustainability. To quote the report directly, this year's survey found that Gen Z and Millennials are deeply worried about the state of the world and are fighting to reconcile their desire for change with the demands and constraints of everyday life. They are struggling with financial anxiety while trying to invest in environmentally sustainable choices. Now we're going to get on to talking about some of the key ways I've managed to save and invest over £10,000 across the span of a couple years. But there are a couple alarming pieces of data from this report that I think are worthy of a mention. Almost half of Gen Z, 46%, and Millennials, 47%, live paycheck to paycheck and worry they won't be able to cover their future expenses. More than a quarter of Gen Z, 26%, and Millennials, 31%, are not confident they will be able to retire comfortably. And around 3/4 of Gen Z and Millennials think that the widening gap between rich and poor is ever growing. There are many other things detailed in this report that just prove Gen Z are probably the most anxious generation that are living currently. And to be honest, from a Gen Z perspective myself, reading through the report, it sounds very dystopian. Gen Z wanted to make better sustainable choices but can't because there's a heavier price tag attached to them. Only 18% of Gen Z think that their employers are doing enough to fight climate change. And again, nearly half have left their organisation because of pressure put on them. So I'm going to leave the report in the description below for you to look through. There is 40 pages of the report. I have read basically all of it. And there is a lot of evidence to support Gen Z in being the most anxious generation currently. Because reading some of the stats, it's heartbreaking. So yeah, link in the description for the full report. But we're going to move on to the second half of the video where I'm going to be talking about some of the ways I've managed to save and invest and ultimately go from 0 to 10,000 in just a couple years. Now to preface this video, I grew up working class, no household savings, household income was way below national average, grew up going to public schooling, currently have a good job now which I've really worked hard to get, and you can find that journey by clicking in the top right here. But ultimately, because of the environment I was brought up in, I've had to learn all this stuff by myself. So here are a couple ways that I manage my money as a Gen Z. Number one, I don't use spreadsheets. Now, I see a bunch of videos on YouTube, people showing off their portfolios, showing off their budgeting spreadsheets. There's this humongous long documentation. It's very hard on the eyes. Working towards financial independence and all this sort of stuff shouldn't be a massive stressor, at least I think so anyway. And ultimately I don't want to contribute to the percentage of Gen Z feeling anxious about money. So I make the process as easy enough as I can for me, budgeting wise. How do I do that? I use an app on my phone. I budget everything in an application called Fudget. It's such a simple app to use. I use it as almost like a diary. I track all the money coming in and I also log all the money coming out. And at the end of the month, I can see how much I've spent on stuff. I can see how much money has come in from different things. And it allows me to plan the next month whether I need to cut back a little bit or whether I could splurge a little bit or allocate more money to investments. But understanding where your money is going is step one fundamental. Number two is that I got clued up on investment benefit accounts that were in my country. So I live in the UK and we have these things called ISAs. ISAs are just essentially investment accounts that don't get taxed on the gains once you withdraw it from the said account. And the most important ISA for me at this moment in time is my lifetime ISA. Essentially this was a scheme created by the UK government to help younger people get on the housing ladder a bit quicker. But the kicker is you get 25% government bonus for every pound you put in. So for example, the maximum allowance is £4,000. The government will put an extra £1,000 on top of that £4,000 that I put in the account. That's 25% more money I didn't have by not investing in the account. The same goes for private pensions, otherwise known as SIPs. These are accounts that benefit from tax relief. So again, another 25% added. A lot of Gen Z do is they keep cash just in their savings account. And we all know how inflation is nowadays, skyrocketed, so keeping cash inside a savings account is ultimately just burning money away over the long term. So as soon as I clued myself up on these investment accounts and how they will benefit me, I started investing in them over time, bit by bit, month by month. I was only putting in maybe £100, £200 a month, but now I'm sat on a nice healthy amount of money that, you know, as it will continue to grow over the next couple of years, it can be used for a deposit on a house or towards things such as early retirement. Number three is that I readily seek new employment opportunities. Now, a lot of the advice that Gen Z might hear from older generations is that you should stick in the same job, long it out, get internal promotions, build good relationships in that company, stay there, you'll get a good pension when you retire just from that one company. But ultimately, substantial amounts of money are made when you job hop. Now, I don't mean job hopping every 6 months to a year. That's a very bad idea, but maximum, 2-3 years in one company, in one position. If you get promoted, cool. If you don't get promoted, then, you should probably look to move on for an increased salary and a better title. Ultimately, businesses are selfish. They care about the bottom line. If you're not performing for whatever reason it could be, they're going to cut you out. So always keep on the lookout for new employment opportunities, because ultimately, usually new jobs come with a better salary. And you do that 4 or 5 times over, you're looking very healthy. And step number 4, there's something that I've been practicing for a few years now, is enjoyable frugality. I want to go out with my friends. I want to go to the movies with my girlfriend. I want to go out to eat at restaurants. I want to go to Nando's, all the time. I want to invest in new equipment for YouTube. I want to, eventually get a new MacBook and this sort of stuff. So I do want to make purchases. I do want to spend money. This whole video is not about hoarding every bit of cash and, wasting your 20s. But there definitely is a meaningful way to spend your money. And it's something I learned very early on, is that you also don't have to spend money to have a good time with people. You don't always have to do the bougie thing. And this isn't mirroring what the older generation say. Don't buy a Starbucks and then you'll be able to buy a house, because it's not how the world works, unfortunately. Go out and buy a Starbucks, but don't go out and buy it for breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's kind of a bit of common sense has to be used. And frugality has turned into a bit of a buzzword, of where frugality means just hoarding money. You never go outside, you never see people, you never spend money, do everything. That's just called being cheap and sad. Whereas enjoyable frugality is doing the same thing, but just allocating a budget towards it. And doing so and knowing you're going to get the same enjoyment out of it. So there's a couple of key principles I use to help build a tiny bit of wealth at the age of 23. I'm no way near getting a deposit on a house or retiring or any of this nonsense. But what I have done is instilled a certain work ethic and a certain mindset that I do know when I get to 50, 60 years of age, I'm going to be okay. I will have a house paid off. There won't be any mortgage. There won't be any consumer debt. I'll be able to be 55 and go to the Maldives, go to the Caribbean, but I'm doing so in a healthy way. And this report from Deloitte highlights that money is a big stress factor for younger people, and that is fully understandable. But I think a lot of younger people will benefit from sitting down for half a day, watching a bunch of YouTube videos, learning how they can make the most of limited funds that they do have, and understand that the process of building wealth or saving or just having money is a long game. And people have different situations and different drawbacks and different responsibilities. But ultimately, it's just figuring out a system that works best for you and working towards not having any money stress. So that's the end of the video. If you did enjoy, please leave a like, comment down below. I'm happy to hear any feedback regarding the video. If you want to read the full survey from Deloitte, I'll leave a link in the description below. But please subscribe to the channel. Have a good day. See you in a bit.